Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your severe weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. We're going to start this morning with the visible satellite picture as of 10 a.m. overlaid with the radar. And as you can see, we have a very impressive complex of showers and thunderstorms diving south from Lake Erie into the portions of the Ohio Valley and western Pennsylvania. Now, the bulk of this is dropping due south and will miss the northern mid-Atlantic completely. However, I am concerned about what we call outflow boundaries. Think of them like mini cold fronts moving east into eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. Now, with temperatures becoming very warm and humid, with highs in the 80s and dew points pushing into the 60s, you get a little trigger like an outflow boundary, and you could end up with some isolated thunderstorms. I don't think this is a major threat, for the most part because of high pressure developing and strengthening over the Virginia and North Carolina coast, suppressing much of the convection that could develop over parts of the northern mid-Atlantic, but it is a threat to keep an eye on. Otherwise, this disturbance will continue to drop south. Some of the residue cloud cover will produce a haze and some mid to upper level cloud cover, but won't really impact temperatures all that much. I'm expecting highs in the mid to upper 80s throughout much of the northern mid-Atlantic, with a definite increase in humidity felt throughout the region. So what's coming up next? Well, it is going to get very hot and humid. Our water vapor satellite picture is already showing the development of what will be a very hot and humid air mass. So there again is our complex with our disturbance lingering over the Great Lakes. But notice the winds over the plains and over the Mississippi River Valley coming from the south, southwest, and then moving to the west, basically pulling a deep tropical air mass from the Gulf of Mexico into the Mississippi River Valley, through the Ohio Valley, and right towards us in the northern mid-Atlantic. So what does that mean? Well, unfortunately, it means that we're going to see temperatures approaching near record levels, if not break some records. The reason why is because this hot and humid air mass is going to be able to sustain itself and enhance itself over the northern mid-Atlantic, especially as this air is coming off of the Appalachian Mountains. That means temperatures are going to be exceeding the 90s very easily. I would not be surprised if some locations in the Delaware River Valley push 100 degrees on Wednesday and Thursday. This is the European model guidance from the Penn State E-Wall on Wednesday afternoon, and I wanted to show this to show you exactly how powerful this upper level ridge will be. We have our high pressure systems set up off of the southeast coast and mid-Atlantic coast, and notice these purple areas. These areas are areas of subsidence, sinking air, and there's quite a bit of sinking air developing throughout the eastern United States. Notice our cold front is stalled over the northern plains and western Great Lakes, and as a result, I really don't expect much in the way of precipitation. Again, possibly an isolated shower or thunderstorm on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon because of some instability. However, I think what we're clearly expecting for Wednesday and Thursday is very hot and humid weather conditions. Now, combined with the fact that temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 90s, possibly hitting 100 degrees in some isolated locations in the Delaware River Valley, we're also going to have to deal with very high levels of humidity. So that's going to create a heat index, which is basically the measure of the temperatures feeling on your body, over 100 degrees. Now, when you have a heat index over 100 degrees, that could create some very dangerous conditions for you outdoors. If you have to be outdoors, drink plenty of water, have light clothing, and take breaks in this weather, in these type of weather conditions, because they can produce significant harm to you and could cause you to have heat stroke, fainting. It just is bad news. So just stay indoors if you can. If you have to be outside, drink plenty of water. Stay away from the soda and any type of liquids that have high sodium, because that's just not good for you. Plenty of water is what's expected, maybe some Gatorade. Now, when does this heat wave break? Well, I have some good news. The latest model guidance is starting to trend the passage of the cold front more towards late Thursday night into Friday morning. However, this cold front is really not all that impressive. At 500 millibars in the European model guidance and on most model guidance, the best dynamics is clearly focused into southeastern Canada. What does that mean? Well, it basically means that there really isn't much support behind this cold front. In fact, the air mass rapidly moderates behind this cold front, which means instead of temperatures falling back to the upper 70s, we could actually be looking at more of a fall back into the lower to mid 80s and some lower humidity. Clearly not the extent of the heat that we're going to be experiencing on Wednesday and Thursday, but the point is that this cold front is looking less and less impressive as we're moving forward. So what does that mean? Well, for Thursday night into Friday, I was originally expecting a major severe weather outbreak possibly developing for Friday afternoon because the cold front was moving slower and you have another day of heating and instability. However, in this case, it looks like this cold front and the upper level dynamics with it are not only going to be focused more to the north of the northern Atlantic, but also are going to be occurring at a time period where your instability is at its lowest level. So I'm not ruling out severe thunderstorms on Thursday night into Friday morning. This is clearly a dynamic situation, even without the best setup. But I think that the threat overall is not as impressive as it was 2 days ago. So on Friday morning, look for a period of showers and thunderstorms. The rain could be heavy at times, especially with all the moisture in the air. And then this weekend's a little bit more volatile than I would like, but it's not a complete washout. As we head into the weekend and through much early next week, this setup will basically be the overall setup through the entire time period. For Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, this stationary front will linger around the mid-Atlantic, and waves of low pressure will move along this boundary, this stationary boundary, and produce variable cloud cover and scattered showers. But notice, once again, at 500 millibars, the best dynamics are focused well to the north into Canada. What does that mean? Well, it basically means that any of these showers that develop are likely to be weak, widely scattered, and they're going to have to depend on some low and mid-level disturbances to really become enhanced. So I'm not really expecting much of a washout this weekend. Variable cloud cover. Some locations are going to break out into some very nice weather conditions, while other areas will linger with some cloud cover. Really depends on the position of mesoscale dynamics each day. So again, if you have plans this weekend going into early next week, I know there's a big Yankee and Red Sox series setting up in the Bronx this weekend. Don't cancel your tickets. Go out there, enjoy the game. You're likely going to have dry conditions. If anything, lower humidity, which is going to be really nice. But be prepared for an isolated shower here or there throughout this weekend. Again, not a complete washout, but there will be a threat. The good news is that temperatures will be nowhere near the upper 90s. Looking for temperatures near normal, around 80 degrees, possibly hitting 85 in some locations, and humidity remaining low. Thank you for trusting NYNJPA Weather as your severe weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.